he sent me some video and asked me to look at it. I never really got back to him because it seemed to me that this was just too repetitive, too similar to helicopters. He didn't seem to realize that a plane that's flying directly towards him, you can see the lights of the plane a long distance away, and they don't appear to move. They just get brighter and brighter and brighter and brighter as the airplane gets closer and closer to you. Eventually you may see it's not just one light but several lights, and you'll be able to see at least one brief flashing light, brief bursts of flash, like a flash cube or something. At the time of some other sighting, I can't think of the name offhand, where a guy had repeatedly videotaped UFOs coming over the hill, and when I actually went there, I saw what was clearly an airplane heading directly towards him, and it would go towards him, and he said then it would turn, it seemed to go to the left or the right, and then disappear, all of a sudden just disappear. And I saw this effect and realized what was happening was the plane was turning. You were seeing, as long as the plane was flying directly toward you, you're seeing the headlights. Right. As soon as they get to a 90-degree turn, the headlights will go out. You can't see them anymore. He thought that the UFO had gone to a certain point and gone into the next dimension or something.
I had one guy, it sent me for a year. I finally had to block him for my emails and everything. Every morning, before it got light, he would, send me a video of that night's images of UFOs every single night. And I guess some people want to believe so much that when they see something, maybe they don't understand how things work. But I
can tell you. Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
I can tell you some bizarre ones. Like one guy, and this is when I was living near Washington, D.C. area, I guess. But it was happening up in New Hampshire, I think. This guy lives in a mountainous area, contacted me to say almost every night he would have a UFO go over his house. And after some digging and so on, I came to conclude that, he said the UFO would travel in a straight line away, coming from behind him, going over his head, and continue along, and all of a sudden just disappear off in the distance. Well, this is a mountainous country, and I deduced after some taking up of my time, shall we say, that what was happening was this airplane was on a landing pattern, turned its headlights on before it got to where he was, and it went over his head, essentially over his house, and went far. It was dropping in altitude, and it just basically disappeared behind a mountain that was some miles away from him. And he thought it was turning off and going somewhere into another dimension. And in fact, the only thing that happened was it got down so low that from his perspective, he could not see it because it was gone behind a mountain. Another time, I was living in the D.C. area, NICAP headquarters got a report of flying saucers from a man who was a professor of something or other, I forget what. He and a bunch of professors at the University of Delaware had been out on their backyard. This was sometime in the late spring or summer, back in 77, 78, somewhere around there. They had your ideal sighting, you might say, multiple witnesses, all credible witnesses, and one of the guys ran and got a camera and set it up on a tripod and was taking pictures of this unbelievable thing that was rolling and turning, and it was a light that they could see and doing unbelievable non-aeronautical motions. Must be a UFO. So they got a camera and took pictures of it. Then they brought these pictures to NICAP headquarters for analysis. And Jack Akoff, who was the head of NICAP at the time, called me up and said, "Could you come and look at these pictures?" Well, this was slides. I can't remember whether it was slide photos or what, regular print photos. But the point is that I looked at them and I started magnifying. I blew them up to the point where I could see that what looked like a solid light was actually a collection of little dots of light. And these little dots of light spelled EET. So the NICAP called up several sign plane companies in the area and found out that there had been one south of where these witnesses were. I forget the exact location, but it was south of where these people were. It had one of those sign things on nighttime sign array of lights on the. It wasn't a blimp. It was an airplane with the array of lights under the wings. A small airplane with an array of lights under the wings, and when it made U-turns and stuff like that, this array of lights would go under rotations and translations that were just unbelievable to watch. As far as these people were concerned, they were seeing a UFO.
Oh,
and
wow.
all it took for photo analysis in that case was blowing it up pictures so that you could see that it was spelling words.
Oh, yeah. Now, hey, our time is almost up. Can you hang around to like 8:45?
Sure.
Okay. Now, James has a couple questions for you. That is my news director for the network. Go ahead, James.
Yeah, how you doing tonight? What's your conclusion on the New York Hudson Valley River craze in the early 80s, Bruce?
83 to 86.
Yeah.
The Hudson Valley sightings. Well, I actually was involved with one of those, although it wasn't known until several years after that this sighting that I investigated could have been included in the sightings, Hudson Valley sightings. The story there is that people over a period of time, and starting in the fall of '83, was it?
Yeah, I believe it was 83.
It was the fall of '83. Yeah. You started getting multiple witness sightings of lighted objects traveling through the skies over the Hudson River Valley, north of New York City. And there were a number of sightings. I haven't studied that, so I can't recite all the sightings. I know that Hynek and Obrogno wrote a book about it. So there is a book about these sightings. One of them that sticks in my mind is one of them that sticks in the mind of a lot of people. The sightings over the Indian River power plant, where that was a nuclear power plant providing electricity for New York City. And one evening, this object comes down. The power plant is in the Hudson River Valley, and this object came down over flying along the river and over the power plant. And I can remember that the guards that were on duty at the time saw this thing flying over and stopping and hovering over the power plant itself, if I recall correctly. A guy on the inside who was operating TV cameras that were used to keep track of what was going on outside the control building. The thing hovered over the power plant, and one of the guards took control of one of these cameras and tried to get a picture of this object as it hovered there. And he was looking up at it, and he caught one edge of it, let's say the northernmost edge of this object, and then he turned the camera, expecting to very quickly, as he rotates the camera southward, he expected to very quickly see the other edge. So he catches the north edge, and he starts turning the camera, looking south. He had to turn the camera all the way to the end of its motion before he could see the southern edge of this thing, meaning it was 100 or some feet in size. Another sighting from that time period was by a guy who was an air traffic controller, if I recall correctly, and the one super big night when the object was traveling over to the what's it called, the parkway that runs parallel to the river, runs northward from New York City. I can't think of the name of the parkway, but there were like 10,000 cars. Some people estimated people leaving New York City and going home to the suburbs in the northern part of New York City. And he stopped his car and got out and looked up at the bottom, and you could see some structure on this very nearly totally black image that they could only see because of the spill light, you might say, from the sides of the automobile headlights that were where the cars were driving or stopping along the highway. I can't think of the name of the highway, but it runs parallel to the Hudson River. There was also a famous video taken by a man and wife. I think it might have been the night of when it hovered over the power plant. But the video shows a ring of lights traveling along, and then a single light somewhat behind it.
Wow.
I don't know what you want me to say. That's what I can remember about it right now.
Yeah, that's amazing stuff. I know we're going to go to break here pretty soon, but real quick, how about what was your thoughts on the Japan Flight 1628 over Alaska in, I believe, 86? Right.
Well, I did the first total analysis of that, and it was published in the Center for UFO Studies journal in May and June, I think, of 1987. You can read a shortened version of what I did is in the FBI CIA UFO Connection book, because I actually gave a lecture at the CIA headquarters on that particular sighting, and so I put it in
now,
this,
okay,
in
Bruce.
book that
Bruce, I don't want to. I hate to interrupt you, but we have to go to the break because of the commercial stations. So we'll be back in 2.5 minutes with Bruce Maccabee and James. You can go ahead and when we get back, ask them another question or two. We'll be back in 2.5 minutes.
Okay.
Life's journey, some ask themselves why the big time has passed them by. They want it all and they want it now. No need to wonder how or why. They decide to make a connection with the bearer of light from the other side. It's a self-centered new world reflection. It's a one-way ticket for one hell of a ride. They're making a deal. Whether down at the crossroads or Hollywood and Vine, they're making a deal. Gonna have it all for a moment in time. You may be a kingpin drug dealer who wants the competition out of the way. You may be an elite politician who wants total control and a power play. You may be an aspiring entertainer who wants to have their name in lights. You may be a four-star general who wants the upper hand in a global fight. They're all making a deal with the chief light